There's a story about Frank Sinatra visiting an old people's home. He spoke to one old lady and he was a bit sad because she obviously didn't make as much fuss of him as he would like. And so he said to her, "Do you know who I am?" And she looked at him kindly and she said, "I don't, my dear," she said, "but Matron is over there, and I'm sure that if you go and see her, she'll tell you who you are." Well, do you know who I am? Who am I? Who is God? And who do I live? How do I love? And those perhaps are some of the most important questions that we are ever going to need to answer. Who are you? Who am I? Who is God? And how do I love? Life for most of us is a mixture. The highs and the lows, the joys and the sorrows, the successes and the failures. And we hold them within ourselves. And only God knows what is here within. And in order to cover up those bits of us that perhaps we don't like very much and can't easily cope with, we put on masks, and we do it so very well. So very well that in the end we lose our true self and we think we are the mask which we show to the world. And our Christian faith calls us to hold together the tensions of life, the highs and the lows, the joys and the sorrows, and the person who we show to others and the person who we really are, the person who is known only to God. We have been thinking recently about the innocent baby in the manger in Bethlehem. And at the same time, we know that that baby is going to become the suffering man on the cross. Today, we have listened to the story of the Transfiguration. And we think, yes, this sounds a bit like another story, doesn't it? Perhaps, as we see and hear about Christ in his glory, perhaps we are reminded of another story. Is it the story of the cross and Jesus' suffering? At the Transfiguration, we remember, Jesus took apart with him Peter, James and John. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus takes to be with him those same three, Peter, James and John. At the Transfiguration, those three sleep. And they sleep again in the Garden of Gethsemane. And Jesus says to them, "Can you not watch with me just for 1 hour?" At the Transfiguration, Jesus has with him two figures, Moses and Elijah. And on the cross, Jesus has with him the two criminals. At the Transfiguration, Jesus is raised up in glory. And at the cross, Jesus is raised up, but raised up in suffering and in love. At the Transfiguration, Jesus is enveloped in darkness, the presence of God. And on the cross, darkness covers everything. At the Transfiguration, the voice says, "This is my Son, listen to him." And at the cross, the centurion says, "Surely, surely, this is the Son of God." In both these, the Transfiguration and the Crucifixion, Jesus showed to his disciples who he really was. And in both these, the Transfiguration and the cross, Jesus shows us, you and me, who he really is. And Jesus calls you and me to recognize him and to recognize who we are before the love of God and to see what, through that love, we can become. We are called, you and I are called to be transfigured, to be transformed, to be changed, to become our true selves at our best, to throw off our masks and to revel in the love and the joy of the Lord. Yesterday was Valentine's Day, a day to rejoice in love. And on the coming Wednesday, we start Lent. And Lent is a time to become aware again of God's love for us. Lent is a time to have our love for God and for each other reawakened. Lent is a journey of love as we walk towards the cross and the resurrection. Lent is a time when we are called to be daily transformed by encountering again the love of God in the life of Jesus. Lent is a time to have our eyes reopened and to see the world through God's all-loving, all-giving eyes. And when confronted by that love, life is never the same. The Magi, the wise men, returned home, no longer at ease with the old gods. Once touched and daily touched by the love of God, we can only turn away from the dead things that the world offers and seek after the living, loving Spirit of God. So how do we do it? How do we do it? How do we know who we are? How do we come to be the person we were created to be? Kierkegaard says, life has to be lived forward and understood backwards. And Jung said, and for most of the people listening to this sermon, for most of us, we are in the second half of our lives. And Jung said, things long hidden in the first half of life, as the sun rises, are lit up from a different perspective as the sun begins to set in the second half of life. And how we remember the past, how we remember our life, is a necessary part of the understanding of who we are and who God is and how we love as a person, as a Christian, and as a church. What matters in life, and I have to tell myself this, what matters in life is not what I have, nor what I've done, but what matters is to see, to know, to understand, however dimly sometimes, and to love. They are the only things that really matter. To see, to know, to understand, and to love. Now, I so hope that you have experienced moments of the wonder of transforming love. If only those moments could last. What did the disciples say? How good it is to be here. Here at the moment of revelation of divine love. If only it could last. And if those moments in your life, those experiences of great love, have any lasting worth, then you must use them as an impetus for hope and joy and love. Those moments which we have all had from the time when we were surrounded by love in our mother's arms, those ravishing moments are the clue to understanding ourselves and knowing who we are. And if you don't reflect, if you don't search yourself to see, to know, to understand and to love, then you are failing to honest the greatest gift you have been given, the greatest gift you will ever be given in your life, the gift of yourself. I stand here in front of you and I see you, each one of you precious and beautiful and much loved. And you have found, and you will find your destiny, the end of your journey, in this love, which is at the heart of all things. In Lent, the prayer, the fasting, the giving sacrificially, as we are called to do, are in order that we might simplify our lives, that we might turn away from sin, that we might follow Christ in you, that we might take up our cross again, and that we may love more fully day by day. And if we do live the coming Lent, we will at Easter see the wonderful sunrise when love's redeeming work is done. We will see and we will know the glory and the presence of the risen Lord. We will know that it is good to be here, good to be here, good to be here in God's world, good to be here surrounded by his love, good to be here filled with that love, good to be here able to be channels of that life-giving, life-enhancing love. And in that, being centered and inspired by love, we will know ourselves again. We will know that love so amazing, so divine, which demands my life, my soul, my all, and that love which can help me